Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. Are you listening to the right podcast? Because you're supposed to be listening to Three Guys in a Flick. Are you listening to that right now? Then you're in the right place. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Three guys and a flick with Don, Ken, and John. Dive into the movies well after the dawn. From the good to the bad to the wildly absurd. They give a fuck about films. Their voices are heard.
Welcome back. You are listening to Three Guys in a Flick. This is where we review the good, the bad, and the absurd. Tonight's episode, Meet the Parents. Beware spoilers. Coming to you from Jack Byrnes' house, my name is Don. Hey, why does it feel like I'm being watched? And why the fuck am I strapped to a lie detector?
So tell us the truth. Who do you like better, the professor or myself?
Neither of you.
That is a true answer.
And joining me tonight, as always, the comic book guy, this is John.
Heidi-ho.
And the professor has the night off. Tonight we are talking about Meet the Parents. Meet the Parents comes to us because, well, I wanted to talk about Meet the Parents.
Why did you want to talk about Meet the Parents?
I wanted to talk about Meet the Parents because I love this movie. And this movie is probably, to me, for myself, one of the most quoted movies that I know. The bit about the Samsonite, just everything that came along with this movie, it was very memorable to me. And it makes me laugh every single time I watch it. And not a lot of comedies will do that. And if a comedy can do that, it is a great comedy. And to me, Meet the Parents is a great comedy.
Do you remember if you saw it in a theater or?
Oh, I definitely saw this in the theater. Robert De Niro is like, I mean, he's my go-to, or one of my go-tos, right? I love De Niro. And who would have thought he was so fucking funny?
Well, didn't he do like Analyze This or something right before this movie?
Yeah, Analyze This came out right before this one. And before that, there was another one, Midnight Run and We're No Angels, kind of more on the comedic side. But if you look through his filmography, you know, Godfather, Heat, Cape Fear, I mean, he goes on and on and
Taxi
on.
Driver.
Yeah, they're all serious roles. But the comedic chops on this fucking guy, get the fuck out of here. Him and Denzel are like the total package of actors. They can do everything.
I read that he, after doing Analyze This, wanted to do more comedy and wanted to get into more comedy. And so that's why he took this role.
Oh, thank God, because him as Jack Byrnes, the fucking classic character. Absolutely classic.
Yeah, if he didn't take it, the next choice was Christopher Walken.
Okay, I could buy that. And I don't think, I mean, looking at it now, you can't imagine anybody but De Niro doing it. But Walken, okay, that's kind of solid.
Walken would have done a good job, but I think De Niro would be more intimidating.
Did you know who originally was set to direct and star?
I do know that the original director was supposed to either be Sondheim or Spielberg, and Spielberg was attached to it at one point.
Right.
And when he was attached to it, Jim Carrey was going to be the actor, and the movie was written to be very slapstick for Jim Carrey. In fact, he's the one that came up with the last name Fokker.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and because both him and Spielberg dropped out due to delays, and I guess I think Carrey went on to do Me, Myself, and Irene, and I don't remember what Spielberg went on to do, but both of them it was taking too long to make this movie.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have liked it with Carrey. I'm not a huge Jim Carrey fan to begin with, so, but I mean, if Spielberg trusts him.
It would have been, I think, very, very slapstick, way too slapstick to make this movie really work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what makes this movie work is the comedic conversations that these characters have. Every conversation to me in this film is memorable, and at some point in every conversation, they manage to make me laugh. So,
yeah, well, originally the writers, the director, everybody was for this movie trying to make it feel like an anxiety dream, and that's what they told Stiller that they were going for. And it does kind of feel like your worst nightmare with some kind of just anxiety dream happening.
Oh, absolutely. Released on October 6, 2000, Meet the Parents was directed by Jay Roach, screenplay by Jim Hertzfield and John Hamburg, based on the 1992 film Meet the Parents by Greg Gillia and Mary Ruth Clark. Music by Randy Newman. And it stars Robert De Niro, Ben Stiller, Blythe Danner, Terry Polo, James Rebhorn, John Abrams, Owen Wilson, and a bunch of other fuckers.
How'd this movie do, Don?
This movie was made for $55 million and brought in $330 million. So not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. In fact, they made back the $55 million in 11 days.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, back in 2000, that's not bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
$330 million is not too bad. Do you know what other movies it was competing with?
back in 2000, let me see if I can take a guess. No.
The number 3 movie of that year worldwide was Castaway.
Okay.
Number 2, Gladiator.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And number 1 worldwide box office, Mission Impossible 2.
Did you ever see Mission Impossible 2?
Yes, I have seen the first 2, maybe 3, and then kind of stopped after that.
All I remember from 2 is Cuckoo Pants' flowy hair. John Woo did it. You know who John Woo
Yes.
is, the director?
Oh, yeah,
And so,
Face Off.
Yeah, so everything's slow motion. So anyways.
So Jay Roach, where do we know him from, the director?
Jay Roach is famous for directing the Austin Powers trilogy. He also did a hockey comedy, which I absolutely love, called Mystery Alaska. Did you ever see that?
No, I haven't even heard of that.
Russell Crowe. It's about a team in Alaska who challenged the New York Rangers to an open field pond hockey game. It's absolutely brilliant. And then he does Meet the Parents and that trilogy, Dinner for Schmucks, The Campaign, and the last notable one, I believe, which isn't TV, is Bombshell. So, yeah. I believe he was married to Susanna Hoff as well. You know who that is?
From the Bengals.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. In the 80s, who didn't have a crush on her?
Oh, I'm not saying I agree with you, but I'm just saying that's who he was married to, if not still married. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I had not heard that. I do know that the screenplay by Jim Hertzfield and John Hamburg. I haven't heard of Hertzfield before. I guess he did a lot of writing for TV shows like Married with Children.
Uh-huh.
Do you know where we know John Hamburg from?
A Will Ferrell movie?
I don't know about that one.
Oh, well, where do we know him from then?
Another Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson movie.
Starsky and Hutch? Zoolander?
Zoolander.
I just recently watched the first Zoolander again. Fucking awesome.
That's one that needs to go in the helmet.
Why male models? You heard them, listeners. Into the helmet. Zoolander. Please and thank you.
Yep. My arch nemesis wrote the music for this.
I was thinking about that last night when I was watching it. I heard it and the song came on and I started laughing out loud because I know how much you love Randy Newman.
Can't stand him. In fact, that's the only thing I hate about Toy Story.
Yeah, no, I know you've said that. So I take it that the Meet the Parents isn't getting a 5.
It is not getting a 5.
Sorry, Randy Newman. That's just the luck of the draw.
Yeah, he dropped it down like almost 2 points.
Oh, wow. Wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, I was going to say.
There's other reasons.
This is a good fucking movie.
But I did not know that Randy Newman also did Major Leagues.
Yeah.
And Awakenings.
Oh, I didn't know he did Awakenings.
Yeah, I got him down for Major League, Awakenings, Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., and then Meet the Fockers.
Yeah.
As well as this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's a busy guy.
Oh, yeah. Randy Newman's pretty famous.
Now let's talk about, we already mentioned him a little bit earlier, but like you said, this movie probably wouldn't have done as well without Robert De Niro.
I don't think it would have been as funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Walken could have pulled it off or whoever they would have got to play Jack Byrnes, but him and Stiller have great comedic timing together. And what I love most about this film is it's conversational comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be invested into the conversations and the characters in order for any of that to work. And just with facial expressions and the fact that you're feeling super awkward for Greg, and it's a very awkward, tense moment. They just pull it off so well. And so, yeah, Robert De Niro can do no wrong.
Well, they feel like opposites of each other.
Oh, yeah.
So Stiller, how did you think? Do you think he was the right person for this?
Oh,
movie?
absolutely. I feel his anxiousness, and I feel how uncomfortable he is. And the scene where he is at the airport counter and she's trying to book him a ticket and how long it takes. First of all, that's a real thing. I don't know why. To this day, it takes people at the counters forever, and it's the of the keys. That's so true. But the way his annoyance and just frustration, and he's just given up at that moment, I feel it. So I loved Ben Stiller in this.
This is one of the reasons why I hate to travel. Exactly what you were just talking about. I've had all kinds of really horrible experiences traveling. I even had one time that I said apparently something wrong to the lady at the actual where you get on the plane, the boarding area.
Uh-huh.
I said something, so she started calling off all the rows. And, like my parents got on the plane, so I went up with my parents and like, no, not you yet. So I had to go step aside. She calls off a few more things. I start to go, no, not you yet. She made me board the last person on the plane because she just didn't like me.
What'd you say?
I basically got upset about moving seats or something. They made us move seats early on and I didn't want to move seats.
Well, what'd you think of Stiller?
I thought he was okay. I did really feel like he was a good opposite to De Niro, but I also feel like maybe there's other people who could have played that role as well.
Yeah, well, no, you're wrong, but that's just your opinion, I suppose.
But again, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but I always thought he came off kind of as a dick in the movie, really grumpy, really moody, especially the way he talked to Pam. And then I realized, I don't really caught the fact that he was going through nicotine withdrawals. It really connected in my head that that's what was making him so angry throughout this movie and so edgy.
And I'm telling you, that gum don't work for shit.
Yeah.
Trust me.
What would it do to the cat?
Probably make it sick.
I was thinking it would just throw up, but apparently it made it go into turbo mode.
Oh, yes. I never put that together.
Yeah.
That he eats the gum and then tears up the shit.
And goes crazy.
Oh, okay. There you go. Blythe Danner, the one who plays Pam's mom.
Yeah, I know her from just two movies.
Which are?
I know her from Paul and Tu Wong Fu.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
the only two
we
things I know
reviewed
from-
Paul.
Yeah, well, we have, but we never released that movie, did we?
Nope. You know who her daughter is?
No, I do not.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Ooh.
Yeah. There you go.
Not bad genes there.
No, not at all. Terry Polo, the gal who played Pam.
Yes, and we have actually reviewed another movie with her in it.
All right, hang on. Let me think about that for 1 second while I say this. I don't like Pam in this movie. I think that she hangs Greg out to dry and she doesn't come to his rescue. And it's kind of fucked up how he always runs back to her. And if I were Greg, I wouldn't have married her.
I would agree with you up until a point. Throughout this movie, she constantly does things that she doesn't take Greg's feelings into consideration. The way that she hangs all over her, ex-fiance, the way she didn't tell him about the ex-fiance before he actually gets to meet the ex-fiance, the way that she sides with her father all the time. But in the end, she makes that phone call that basically where she says, I'm sorry for not being sympathetic to your side. I should have been more on your side, and I'm really sorry. So it hits her at the end that she did kind of throw him out, hang him out to dry.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo, Basil.
Okay, what movie did we review with her in?
Oh, fuck, I don't remember.
The Arrival.
She was in Arrival?
Yeah. Wasn't she the lead in that one?
No, that's Amy Adams.
Amy Adams. I had her, she's in that movie. I looked her up.
Well, there you go. Owen Wilson. What did you think of Owen Wilson in this?
He was okay. I wouldn't say I always like him, but I think he does a good job in the movies that he's in. I really like him in Cars. That's probably my favorite Owen Wilson movie. But he really wasn't much there wasn't much to him in this movie.
Oh, but when he was in there, it's pretty fucking funny.
I read that he ad-libbed most of his lines.
Yeah.
Jay Roach cast Owen, Stiller, and De Niro specifically because he thought they could ad-lib a lot in this movie.
Oh, well.
And so he let them just kind of go to town on whatever they wanted to do.
That was a good choice on him because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyone else in this cast jump out at you?
Well, of course, Jinx the cat.
The cat?
Did you know that there were two of them?
Yeah. That's kind of typical.
And there was a decoy little toy cat that they used for like going up and down the wall,
Oh.
the house and all that, and dropping it. And
Well, I don't like cats to begin with, so that's fine.
yeah, apparently De Niro wasn't a huge fan in the beginning of cats, but he sparked up some kind of strong friendship with this cat that he actually pushed for more cat interactions in the movie. The reason why we see Jinx so much is because of De Niro.
Yeah, and he wanted to train him himself, but figured out it'd take too long, so he just let the trainers do it.
If he completely had his way, one of the things he wanted was for Jinx to be in almost every scene in the movie, or at least every scene that Jack was in.
So,
one of the funniest things I thought about this movie is this movie, I guess, is supposed to take place in Chicago and even opens on Chicago.
but none of it was filmed in Chicago?
None of it was filmed in Chicago.
Welcome to Hollywood magic, my friend.
So one question I had for you.
Yeah.
When you think about this movie and its genre, would you call this a romantic comedy, a slapstick comedy, a dark comedy, or something else, or all of the above?
Why can't I just call it a comedy?
Would you call it a comedy? Just a regular comedy? I thought about maybe categorizing it some way, because the original version was definitely a dark comedy. Do you know anything about the original version? I didn't even know it existed before I started doing my research.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know. This is actually a remake of a 1992 film called Meet the Parents that had $100,000 budget, was shown to a few independent group, theaters, things like that, but never really got very far, and they couldn't get it to be picked up by the bigger theaters. So the guy who wrote it, directed it, starred in it, helped produce it, he ended up just trying to sell the rights to it, and that's how this movie got made. How the Ben Stiller De Niro movie got made is he ended up selling the rights. Well, the original one, as I mentioned, being a dark comedy, was very much darker than this movie. It was still apparently very funny, which I want to see a version of it. The whole point of that movie was a guy stops at a gas station, tells the gas station attendant that he's going to meet the parents, or he's going to go ahead and propose to his current girlfriend. So the gas attendant tells him this horrible story about his friend Greg, who did the exact same thing and went through a whole bunch of mishaps, and ended up the whole family dies in the end. And so he talks the guy out of proposing to his girlfriend.
Yeah, that's pretty dark.
One thing I thought was kind of interesting is directors are always kind of doing things to their actors to try to get them into the mood or get the best acting out of them. And two of the things that Roach did in this movie is he purposely kept De Niro and Stiller apart so that they would kind of be aloof with each other and not very... They couldn't form a friendship or become connected. He wanted them to be very standoffish with each other.
Yeah, and it totally works because their relationship is very cringy, and it's not until the very end where they kind of have it out that it actually works. And so that's why I think they decided to go with the other two movies because of that chemistry and that bond. So yeah, for sure.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was Jim Roach purposely made sure that Stiller's wardrobe was very uncomfortable and that Stiller hated the wardrobe because he wanted that to come across in the screen, this discomfort that Greg was having with his clothes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it showed. It fucking showed.
When you're a fool in love and nothing goes the way you planned and no one cares.
Greg Fokker, a nurse from Chicago, is excited to propose to his girlfriend Pam Byrnes during her sister Debbie's wedding at her parents' home on Long Island. He plans to ask her father Jack's blessing and propose in front of her family, but his carefully laid plans hit a snag when the airline loses his luggage, including the engagement ring. Upon arriving at the Byrnes home, Greg meets Pam's parents, Jack and Dina, as well as their beloved cat, Jinx. Although Jack initially appears cordial, he quickly becomes suspicious of Greg and openly criticizes his career choice as a nurse. Greg's awkward attempts to make a good impression only worsen the situation, such as when he gives Jack a rare flower, which Jack fails to recognize despite claiming to be a retired florist. The tension heightens when Jack subjects Greg to an impromptu lie detector test, leaving Greg even more uncomfortable. Pam later explains that Jack's florist profession is merely a cover for his real identity as a retired CIA operative. further increasing Greg's anxiety. So this movie starts off with a kind of like a home video shot. I guess Terry Polo's ex-husband actually shot that.
That's what I heard. It was actually a home video.
Yeah. And we get your favorite artist, Randy Newman, singing the song. So right there, you're probably going, oh, fuck. Did you see this in the theater?
I believe I did.
Had you seen this before?
Yeah, I have seen it a few times.
Oh, okay.
So I think right there, when I'm watching it this time around, is when I started picking up my phone and surfing my phone a little.
And then we open with Ben Stiller at hospital. He's practicing, his proposal thing, and it just shows us that who he is. And I love how the patient says, "Thank you, doctor. You have gentle hands."
Well, I like before that, the guy's like, ooh, ow, ooh, ooh, ooh. And we find out he's doing a catheter.
Yeah. They tend to pinch. And then, Greg snaps off the line, "Oh, I'm not the doctor. I'm a nurse." So, I mean, they're throwing that at us right up front that he's a male nurse. And not that there's anything wrong with that.
That was Ben Stiller's idea.
Yeah.
To make him a male nurse.
Which fucking works out brilliantly because some of the lines and conversations later, it all comes back around and it's just funny shit. And so we learn that Pam is a teacher and she's got these little shits. And what'd you think of the bit where he comes up to school to meet her, but he's prearranged the kids to line up?
I like how he keeps having to move because they're misspelling the word. And
I kept thinking, she's got to know something's up because, I mean, this is kind of taking kind of long, right? Mm-hmm. But
I would say then she gets that phone call.
And then it all goes to shit, right? She finds out that her sister's getting married and it's in 2 weeks to Dr. Bob. And Greg's like, oh, fuck, I can't ask her now.
Well, that was, I had a few things I wrote down that I thought were a little strange. And the fact that she's just finding out her sister got engaged and they're getting married in 2 weeks.
Well, they say.
Did that seem a little odd to be so quick turnaround?
Well, yes, it does, but not out of the norm. They even call it out. When she's on the phone with her sister, she's like, isn't this a little sudden? Yeah. So, yeah, it's all taking place really fast, and Greg's like, fuck, right? Mm-hmm.
Do you know why we don't see her sister in the future movies?
Because she's dead.
She died after this movie. She died in 2005.
Yeah, but they kept her character.
They talk about her,
and they refer to her, her sister Deb. And so they decide that they're going to go to Pam's parents' place in Long Island.
And so now Greg's got to ask for the father's permission.
He gets that because of the conversation Pam and Debbie are having.
Yeah.
And so now we get to the airport bit. And I love that as he's going through security, they have that little device or something that you have to stick your bag through.
I didn't think his bag was that big.
Well, I don't think that thing ever existed either, which I thought was funny. But no, it wasn't. His bag wasn't that big, and because he does not want to check it, right?
You know that they're setting up. It's almost foreshadowing for the fact they're going to lose his luggage, and you know that the ring is in the bag, so he's going to basically lose his ring.
Oh yeah, you see this coming a mile away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they fly to Long Island. And when they get there, naturally, they lose his fucking bag. I like the bit where he's standing at the counter and because I've lost my bag before and it fucking sucks. And well, I didn't lose it. Some dickhead picked it up and took it halfway.
Apparently it wasn't the lady at the counter.
No. Well, yeah. Come on, man. You lost my luggage. Well, she didn't technically lose his luggage. So she's not wrong. She's not wrong. But I like the bit where the baby spits up on him.
Yeah.
Because that smell will not go away.
And right after they're saying he has to go the whole weekend wearing this outfit.
Right. And so they rent a car and they drive to Pam's house.
I want to know at which point in this movie, if you were Greg, that you would have turned around and gone home. Would it have been at the baby or later on in the movie?
Oh, it would have been later on.
Okay, so let me know when we get to that point that you would have said, fuck this. Probably at the point they told you couldn't smoke.
Oh, well, maybe. But see, I would have found a way.
Okay.
So
hiding up on the roof?
Okay. You play dumb games, right? So anyways, they get to the house and this is where we first meet De Niro and the mom. What'd you think of the interaction between the meeting?
I thought it was cutesy because, the daughter comes up and she does the little games with dad and the mom is really nice. It seemed like just almost like the perfect family. And he was kind of coming this as the oddball out in the perfect family.
I like how Jack says, they say geniuses pick green, but you didn't pick it. So he keeps taking these digs at Greg, which as a father, I get, right? I do the same thing.
You'd be exactly that way.
I am exactly that way.
Yeah.
So
how often do you pick on your daughter's boyfriend?
As often as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So
what did you think of the initial interaction between Greg and the family?
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought that, you have the plot line of him not having his luggage. So he's kind of stuck in what he's got. And so now he gets to borrow some of Jack's clothes. And just the dynamic between them, I felt very awkward. It felt very uncomfortable.
One of the things I was trying to notice some of their film techniques, and I don't know if I saw this exactly correctly, but when the family first comes out the door, they kind of do a shot of what almost appeared like De Niro was higher than everybody else and looking down at Greg. Did you notice that as he came out through the frame of the door?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And kind of that God mode of he's above you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always notice that stuff. What'd you think of the bit where they have to go to the store? And then they have that conversation in the car about Puff the Magic Dragon.
It's funny. I had to look that up. I wanted to know if it was true about the rumor of, I always thought the rumor was true that it was a song about marijuana.
And?
It is not true.
Oh.
Well, at least according to Peter, Paul, and Mary, the writers of the song, it is really just about a boy losing his innocence and becoming an adult, giving up childish things.
By smoking marijuana.
But they named the kid Jackie Paper, and Puff the Magic Dragon.
I know.
I don't know. I think there's some truth to
and
it
it was Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guy.
It's my dad's favorite song, by the way.
Does he know about? Oh my God, I can just see your dad now. Puff is the name of the boy's magical dragon.
He'd be exactly that way.
And so they get to the market or whatever because Jack has to pick up some Tom Collins mix, but we know that Jack's kind of on the sly right now because there was a phone call that he took, so we know something's going on.
Well, there's that, and we see him pouring out a full bottle, a brand new bottle of Tom Collins mix.
Mom's like, I just bought some.
I thought I just bought some. Nope, that stuff gets away from you.
And I like the bit I like about this is Greg picks up what he needs, and then he goes asks for an expensive bottle of champagne, and the guy's response is, "Well, you could buy a lot of mums."
Well, he goes, "What's the most expensive bottle you have?" A $13 bottle of mums.
Yeah.
Well, don't you have something I can get for $100? You get a lot of mums.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I thought he wanted the patch, but they're like, "Well, we have the gum."
Which, again, that gum don't work for shit.
But
smart of them to think of that.
Yeah, but this is one of those things that, I did laugh a lot at this movie, but there were certain scenes that I felt like Greg just fucked himself over. When he grabs he's watching, Jack out doing whatever he's doing, and then he grabs the magazine and starts talking about breast pumps and all that. He could have just said, "Oh, I just grabbed something random. I was killing time." He didn't have to say, "I'm into breast pumps."
It doesn't work if he doesn't do that.
I know it's in the script that way, but I just thought the character Greg is just making himself look like an asshole, very weird.
Well, he's nervous and his fucking nerves are getting the better of him, but he's not lying. Right?
I'm just thinking, who does that?
Greg Fokker does. So there you go.
Speaking of Fokker, I guess, did you hear that this movie struggled with the rating?
Yeah, the MPAA made them prove that Fokker was an actual last name before they could use it.
Yeah, because they didn't like how often that name is used in this movie.
The mom says, just so we pronounce it right, how do you say your last name? Oh, just like it's spelled.
Fokker.
Fokker.
Yeah.
And then so they get back, and now we get to the dinner scene. What'd you think of the dinner scene, at least?
Again, kind of awkward, but it seemed to start out well until they asked the Jewish guy to say grace.
Oh, I love that. And the grace he comes up with, I guess, is a lyric from a song.
It's actually a lyric from a musical called Day by Day from the musical Godspell. I've never seen that musical, but I guess I don't know which part of it was, but I think the ending was.
Probably where he says day by day by day. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then we learn that
we have Greg thinking that the urn is a camera, and he does all little fancy things. And then what does he find out?
because Jack has a new business, like small little spy cameras, which makes sense because he was in the CIA. But then he finds out that it's actually Jack's mom in the urn. And this is fucking hilarious. When De Niro reads the speech, so funny. Just everything about it just makes me laugh.
This was another one of those things that as soon as they introduced the urn into this whole thing, you knew something was happening to that urn.
Yeah, absolutely. And you knew that the fucking cat was going to be part of it as well because they set it up. They set it up by saying that Jack teaches Jinxy how to use the toilet. Well, it's really not that hard, Greg. But mom says, yeah, but ever since then, any chance he can get to dig, squat, and drop or whatever it is, he takes it. So she had to move all of her plants. So when the urn hits the ground, naturally, right, what's going to happen?
In the original movie, that was one of the gags they kind of had in the movie. They didn't have the cat in the movie. It was a dog in the movie. But in the original movie, there was a antique or something portrait of the mom above the urn, and somehow Greg knocks the painting down, hits the urn, and destroys both of them.
Yeah, well.
So they do the similar things in that movie. So you knew that was going to happen with the urn. And yeah, the cat, I think, was the funniest part, seeing the cat take a squat.
And I mean, how do you come back from that? Right? I mean, that's just, ugh.
That would have been close to my point of saying, yeah, I think I'm going to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of have to be aware of your surroundings when you're opening a bottle of champagne, you would think.
That's what I'm thinking.
Especially a $13 bottle of Mums.
I have had champagne corks go in the wrong direction, so I am very cautious with them.
Yeah, see? And so he lives through it, luckily, and then they're in Pam's room, and this is where Jack comes in, and he says, you know what, don't worry about it, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. And then they figure out that Greg's going to sleep downstairs. But my favorite bit about this is after Pam goes to bed and mom leaves, it's just Jack and Greg, and he says, I'm from the 21st century. I know you've probably had premarital relations with my daughter, but as long as you're under my roof, keep your snake in your cage for the next 72 hours.
Yeah, I do like that. And I've had that talk before with parents of women that I was dating. But one of the things that, we mentioned earlier was about Jack's business with the cameras. Wouldn't you have assumed that every single thing in that house could be a camera? I'd be afraid to do anything in that house.
Oh, probably.
He even had a camera in the freaking bathroom.
I know. Well, he had to find out who flushed the fucking toilet. But
yeah, did he advise him at some point early on not to flush the toilet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He says, don't flush this toilet because it runs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so Greg gets downstairs, and then he's listening to a conversation about him that that Jack and his wife are having about him
through the vents.
Yeah. Right. And then he slips and falls, and he cracks open the secret room. What'd you think of the secret room with the lie detector in it?
That would have been something that I think a red flag for me.
I would have shit my pants. And I'm surprised Greg doesn't shit his pants. But when Jack comes down and
that's
he
where
says,
I would, yeah.
Are you looking for something, Greg?
See anything interesting?
Oh my God, I would have just shit my pants.
Yeah.
But
and then he agrees to be hooked up to the lie detector.
Come on. De Niro's so polite. Oh, come on, let's give it a try. Oh, you're going to like it. It's going to be fun.
Would you have let him hook you up?
Fuck no.
God, I can't even imagine what he would ask, especially like he says, well, your dad asked me if we're living together.
Yeah. And then, because they're not supposed to know. But I love the questions he comes up with, right? Did we have roast tonight or whatever? He goes,
meatloaf.
Yeah. Was it undercooked? And so Greg has to dance around it. Greg does such a good job of dancing around everything, but in his attempts to dance around it, he just makes it worse.
Apparently the lie detector wasn't in their original script. That was De Niro's idea to add it in.
Oh, and it was so genius because the guy's from the CIA, so it makes complete sense.
Well, I like because after this, I believe it's after this that Pam reveals to him that he was in the CIA. And did you hear like he was in the his role in the CIA was like torture and getting information out of people.
Psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare. So yeah, that's not the father-in-law you want to have.
And so after he gets out of the lie detector, Pam does come down, and that's where she tells him, you know. And then she tries to come on to him, and he's like, nope. Snake stays in the cage for 72 hours.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not a child. He's like, nope.
Yep, nope.
Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist.
Greg meets Pam's extended family and quickly feels out of place, especially after learning about her ex-fiancé Kevin. Charming, wealthy, and still friendly with Pam, Kevin's presence deepens Greg's insecurity. Determined to impress the family, Greg's efforts backfire spectacularly, making him the target of ridicule. Things worsen when he floods the backyard with sewage and sets the wedding altar on fire. Jack's suspicions of Greg intensify after Greg endorses a marijuana interpretation of Puff the Magic Dragon and is wrongly accused of owning a marijuana pipe, which actually belongs to Pam's brother Denny. As if things couldn't get worse, Greg loses the family cat Jinx and tries to cover it up by replacing him with a stray cat whose tail he spray paints to pass off as Jinx. The replacement cat wreaks havoc, destroying the house and Debbie's wedding dress. The deception is revealed when a neighbor finds the real Jinx, and Jack seizes the opportunity to accuse Greg of lying about his academic credentials. Overwhelming and disgraced, Greg is ultimately asked to leave the family home.
Now, in between the first act and the second act, we have Jack introduce the Circle of Trust. What do you think of that whole conversation?
Oh, I thought it was wonderful. I mean, just the way he pulls it off, and that's his facial expressions. He says, once you're in the circle, once you're in, you can't get out. And if you're ever out, you're never coming back in.
Well, and he kind of makes him feel like, if you tell anyone, I'm going to have to kill you.
Oh, yeah, because he was in the CIA. And so the next morning, Greg hears a bunch of stuff going on. And this is one of my first problems with Pam. Why doesn't she wake him up? Oh, because she wanted him to sleep. No, bullshit. You wake him up.
Yeah, you're a guest in someone's home.
When everyone's up, when she's up, he should be up.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So he comes out, looks like a fool, automatically in front of all these people. We get Deb, her fiance, Dr. Bob, and then Dr. Bob's parents, Dr. Larry and the mom.
Yeah, who I don't like right off the bat.
Oh, they are so funny because they're so arrogant and so doctorish, right? And Jack takes this opportunity to try to make Greg look bad, and he likes to flaunt the fact that Greg is a male nurse. And then the doctors laugh.
Yeah,
right?
like they think he's kidding.
Yeah, and he's like, no, I really am a nurse. And they said, well, why didn't you want to take the MCATs? And he says, well, I did. And Jack's like, you did? Then why wouldn't you want to be a doctor? And Greg's just like, I want to be more patient and not, a doctor.
He'd less bureaucracy, more time with the patients.
Right. And, he just continues to get ridiculed for it.
Yeah. And this is one of those where we really get to see that it's kind of hinted at earlier on, but Jack really isn't giving Greg a chance.
Oh, no, because
he's right away ruled him out.
Well, yeah, because nobody's good enough for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I know the feeling, right?
But with you, it's true.
What?
That nobody's good enough for your daughter.
Right. Well, for him, it was too.
Yeah.
Right. Until he gets to know the guy. Jack has the whole wedding planned. He's like this crazy wedding planner. And it turns out one of the groomsmen can't make it. And so Pam suggests Greg, which again, fucking awkward. And why wouldn't you ask him first? She just blurts it out, right?
Greg could do it.
Yeah. I mean, Pam keeps fucking him left and right and not even in the good way.
Well, I think they offer him up as to be an usher.
Yeah, but still, to be in the wedding and you just met these people?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And the thing is if it was my wedding, I don't think I'd want him in the wedding because I don't know him.
Right, exactly. But you're not going to say no to Jack, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, and this is another problem I have with Pam. They're all getting ready to leave, and Greg needs some fucking clothes. So what does she say? She says, go to my brother's room and get some.
Or just grab some clothes.
And I love how he says, you mean go up to your brother's room, who I've never met, and just ask him for some clothes? And she's like, yeah. Fuck that. Go get me some fucking clothes.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's what she should have done.
That's right.
That, and I still thought, well, he probably just should have worn more of Jack's clothes.
Yeah, but he says that he doesn't want to.
Okay.
So this is where we find out that Denny sneaks in and out, and he's kind of like a rebel. And
Well, he's a pothead partier.
yeah, I mean, who's not, right? And so Greg manages to get some clothes, and they go to the tuck shop.
I really thought the way that Denny was acting when he says, sure, let me grab you some clothes. I thought he was going to grab him the most horrible things to wear.
Yeah, he's kind of seemed like a dick, right?
Yeah, I thought he was fucking with him, but turns out, I mean, they weren't the best clothes in the world, but they weren't horrible.
And they were Denny's clothes. I can see
Yeah.
Denny wearing these clothes, right? And I like how when they leave, Greg borrows Denny's jacket, and then Denny remembers. We don't know what he remembers yet, but we remembers, right?
And then he later, when they get to the tuck shop, Denny goes to the jacket to pull out a marijuana pipe.
Yeah. And he tries to play so innocent in front of his dad, right? And Jack's like, do you know what this is, Denny? And Denny's like, no, Dad. What is it? And the way De Niro takes it, sniffs it, I mean, it's such a dad thing to do, right? I can totally see my dad doing this. No, Denny, this is a device for smoking marijuana.
Yeah. And
so good. Well, it's not mine. And so immediately he thinks it's fucking Greg's.
well, he already thinks Greg has some connection to pot because of the whole Puff the Magic Dragon discussion. That, oh, well, he must be into pot. He said something about, Greg, you a pothead? Well, now he feels like he's gotten his proof that Greg is a pothead.
Right.
And that he lied to him.
And so he goes over and he talks to Greg, and he starts off the whole conversation with, was I not clear about what it takes to be in the circle of trust? Because it's one of these instances where you have two characters talking about two separate things.
Greg has no idea what the fuck he's talking
No
about.
clue, right? And this is one of my favorite lines from Jack, where he says, if I find out that you've corrupted my firstborn in any way, I will bring you down, baby. I will bring you down to Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so good, so well delivered. And so Greg's like, what the fuck? Right? And so they have to leave.
I think one of the next things they do is they go to Kevin's house, where this is where right before they go, Greg finds out that Pam had an ex-fiance, which I'm thinking, one, that should have come up beforehand, like a long time ago. And two, when Pam found out they were going to Kevin's house, she should have alerted him and let him know what he's about to get into.
Now you know why Pam is on my shit list.
Yeah, that
Right?
just seemed like an odd thing not to mention.
Right. And so they go to Kevin's house, and I love this whole bit. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. From the time they get there until the time they leave. The comedic timing on all of it is great. The way Owen Wilson plays off of Ben Stiller and vice versa. And then you have Jack. Jack's just throwing in these little quips, right? Left and right. Some of my favorite are, he loves to point out that Greg's a male nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that is so funny, right? And then they have to play, they're going to go swimming, and
This
they
is
want to play
where-
volleyball.
This is where I had to think, because Kevin kind of comes off as just the nice guy, but the swimming suit that he gives to Greg seemed like a dick maneuver. Like he did it on purpose to really embarrass Greg. What do you think?
Maybe that's all he has. I don't think we get to see Kevin's swimming suit.
We get to see Kevin in a swimming suit, and he's wearing a short style swimming suit. I looked for it.
Oh, well, there you go.
So he had other swimming suits.
Well, fucking Greg didn't back down, did he?
Yeah, but Julie did say she wants to see me in that swimming suit. So we get the volleyball game. And first of all, Greg didn't even want to go swimming, didn't want to be part of it, didn't want to play, but was kind of forced into it.
And, okay, Pam, he's your boyfriend. Why is he not on your team?
I thought that too. Why would she choose to be on Kevin's team and not be on her boyfriend's team?
But this scene gives us some of the best lines that I think go very underrated. And some of them are by Dr. Larry, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're getting creamed. Greg's team, which is Jack, Dr. Larry, and Denny, right?
And they keep saying throughout the scene, just spike the ball.
Just spike the ball. Just spike the ball.
Do you know how to spike the ball?
And they're all huddled up, and Jack's just not having it anymore, right? He's kind of all pissed off. And Dr. Larry says, well, if Florence Nightingale here would play defense. And Greg's like, Larry, I missed one shot. And Larry's comeback, it was a big shot. It's just it just makes me laugh every single time. And then Jack is telling the people what to do. And he says, Greg, I'm not expecting much of you, but do you think if I set the ball, you can spike it? And Greg looks at the net and turns back and goes, yeah, I'd have to be pretty high, but yeah, I think I could. Jack's response, I bet you would, Panama Red. Do you know how many times I've said that to my sons?
I can see that.
I bet you are, Panama Red. So funny. Absolutely brilliant. But the best part about this whole thing, I think, in my humble opinion, and we all know how humble I am, is when he finally does spike the ball. And when he comes up from the water, it's all in slow motion. And he's so proud of himself. He's like, fuck you guys. I just did it. And then he sees the blood. And then he sees what he did, and it all goes to shit.
Well, there's that, but I like the way the shot, like you said, he comes up slowly, and as he's hitting the ball, you see Debbie's face as the ball is coming straight at her. And to me, that was one of the key moments of this, is just the panic in her face as it hits her in the face.
Oh, because it's a no-brainer. You know what's going to happen.
But my thought, too, is the way that everyone reacted to it, like, Jesus, Fokker, it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't his fault. They told him to spike the ball. They pressured him to spike the ball. He wasn't aiming it at her.
Oh, I know.
So I wouldn't have blamed him for something like that.
You never know. You weren't in the moment.
Yeah.
But the way he's been treated thus far, it's natural. But again, why doesn't Pam say what you just said?
Why doesn't she defend him?
Right, exactly. So fuck her again.
Yeah.
So they get back home, and I like what Denny says. He says, damn, I can see Voight backwards on your face.
Yeah, I thought that was great. I don't know if I caught that the first time because it was so subtle, but yeah, that was funny as hell.
And this is where we find out that that the Byrnes' sewage is backed up, and now their lawn is all flooded. And Kevin, who made an altar earlier, is supposed to
carved it out of one piece of wood, and
70 hours is supposed to deliver it, right? But the sewage is overflowing, and Jack's like, did you flush that toilet? And Danny even says to Greg, man, you're doing great, bud.
Well, earlier on when we see that Jinx uses the toilet, Greg watches him use the toilet and everything, gives him a little privacy or whatever. And then Jack comes in and asks him, did you flush the toilet? Did you think before we see the whole end thing that maybe Jinx did flush the toilet, or do you think that you suspected Jack right away?
Jesus,
Or
fucker,
Greg?
the cat doesn't have any thumbs. He can't flush the toilet. That should answer your question.
Yeah. I kind of thought, at least in the beginning, that Greg was telling the truth about things.
Not even a little bit.
So I thought maybe Jinx did, and he was going to see it on the video at the end, but no. Greg lied.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And you were talking about the delivery of the wooden thing or whatever it is, the hoopah, as he called it, like a hoopah. What'd you think of spraying the family with the shit?
Oh, I mean, that's comedic gold.
You knew that was coming as the truck was backing up.
Yeah. And so before this, Greg's on the phone with the airlines trying to find his fucking bag, and that's where he delivers that brilliant line. And Jinx is fucking with him, so he lets him outside, which he was not supposed to do because Jinx does not possess the survival skills. He realizes what he does, and so he chases Jinx up the fucking roof.
Up the trellis, yeah.
And he finds his pack of cigarettes, which Pam threw up there earlier. And I would have done the same fucking thing. I would have sat there and just fucking had a cigarette, because this is just fucking ridiculous.
You would have probably been a little more cautious about how you put out the cigarette.
Oh, that dude just throws them. Yeah. I mean, you play dumb games, right?
Like
I can say this all night long.
Well, a lot of it, again, going back to it, is Greg fucks up his own life. He makes a lot of mistakes in this movie, does a lot of dumb things. And I'm thinking at that point that you've had so many things go wrong, I would have been walking on eggshells not to do anything else wrong.
Yeah, well, at that point, I think he was out of fucks to give.
Like even the fact that he let Jinxie outside, what the fuck was he thinking?
Well, he wasn't. He was pissed off about his bag,
Yeah.
right? Because a bag did get delivered, but it was the wrong one. He couldn't open it. And he kept telling Jack, there's something in here I want to give Pam. And I want to talk to you about some stuff. I don't know what the fuck happened in the tuck shop, but let's talk, right? And so Jack's like, okay, cool.
And then, of course, when he can't unlock it, he leaves the room. Jack comes in, unlocks the suitcase with his little lockpick. What do you think about the fact he just gave him a speech of, there's something in here I want to give him, and then, or give her, and then now Jack is pulling out dildos and strap-ons and leather stuff. And
yeah, it was fucking hilarious because Jack's like, what the fuck is this, right? And so Jinx is on the roof. Greg is having a smoke. He sees Jinx. He tries to rescue him. Can't do it.
Dives for him.
He also overhears Jack on the phone speaking Thai. Oh no, Dina. Jack speak Thai real good. And he throws the cigarette out into the gutter, which naturally catches on fire. And it naturally breaks. And we were already told that the altar had a bunch of lacquer on it. And so Greg lands up burning down a tree and the altar.
He goes to stomp out the fire in the gutter, breaks the gutter falls, hits a power line. The power line then goes and hits like a tree or something like that, and then a branch falls on fire onto the altar, which the lacquer makes it go up into a huge flaming fire.
Yeah.
What did you think about in the background as the family's coming out? We see subtly Stiller's character, Greg, jumping through that window.
Oh, I would have done the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
For sure. And it was almost perfect, right? He could use this excuse about Jinx getting out.
That's what I was thinking too. I would have said, well, when they came out that door, did you notice they left the door open?
Yeah. And so they have to get the backyard pumped. They have to get the altar taken care of. And there's like 15 minutes before rehearsal dinner, and Jinx is now missing.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Jack is freaking out.
And the bit that stands out to me in this is when he tells everybody that he taught Jinx to walk down the aisle with the rings. Did you notice Dr. Larry's reaction?
No, I'm not sure.
So he goes, oh yeah, no, I totally did it, and blah blah blah. And Dr. Larry's like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
it was this huge travesty.
But here's another one of those things I think it's going to go on your I don't like Pam list, that everybody's kind of freaking out, everybody's having things, and Pam instantly volunteers Jack to go find Jinx. He'll find Jinx without even asking him or talking to him.
Dick move number 7. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Fucking A.
So maybe you're right. Maybe she is the villain of this story.
But, what's he going to do? He figures, well, maybe if I find the cat, I can get back on Jack's good side and we can, make this all go away.
I'd like to say, knowing what I know and seeing what I saw in the movie, that one of the first things I would have done is I would have gone and talked to the neighbors in the neighborhood and asked, have you seen this cat? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, I don't know. But I would have done that before immediately going to looking for, the cat at other places.
Yeah, well, I mean, you live and you learn.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. But he does go to a shelter and he thinks he finds Jinx if it wasn't for that damn tail. And so he gets this idea.
Would you have spray painted the cat?
Probably not. Probably not.
I understand his intentions, which were he thought he could bring the cat home while he actually found the real Jinx and then swap them out later.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking there's no way with that cat training and the fact that Jack, not only is he the CIA guy, but he worked so closely with Jinx, there's no way he's going to fall for it.
And he's a human lie detector.
Yeah.
Right? So, but Greg brings the cat, and I love the expression he has. He's all happy with himself. It's in slow motion.
The hero moment.
Yeah. And they found him, right? And so now Greg was the savior of the day.
Okay, he's the big hero. He's re-ingrained himself with the family, and nobody is making fun of him anymore.
Right. And so they're laughing at his jokes, and they're at dinner having a good old time. And in the meantime, Greg is still calling shelters, trying to find the real Jinx. And at the same time, Jack calls home to check his messages, and his neighbor called and says, hey, Jack, we found Jinx. He wandered over into our yard. And so now Jack has him by the balls. Right.
And they have that little face off about we better get home pretty quick and check on Jinx or something like that.
I love how Greg comes over and goes, "Yeah, I'll drive for Larry," and he gives him like he's been drinking too much motion. And this, what do you think of this race all the way home as they kept hitting every single light?
Well, before that, we see the cat get into the nicotine gum, which basically sets him off into some hyper rage that now he's destroying everything. So not only did he bring home the wrong cat, but this cat is now destroying everything.
Yeah.
And then we have the drive. And I guess, have you seen the movie Ronin?
Yeah.
This was supposed to be a call out to the movie Ronin. It was supposed to be similar to that, but making fun of the fact of lights changing so fast.
Yeah. And the fact that they got stopped at every red light, that's what was funny about it.
Mhm.
And
I love how they'd only get a block at a time.
yeah, but they're going super fast, right? And they keep giving each other the eye and this, that, and the other. And finally, Greg's supposed to take a left, so Jack takes a left, and Greg goes straight. So now he knows he's fucked.
I thought you would call out the back seat, the doctor guy in the back seat, that he kept going, "Jesus fucker," every time they hit the thing.
I love that guy.
And they're just complaining every time.
Jesus fucker, the cat doesn't even have thumbs. And so they make it home, and Greg knows he's fucked, so he just stays in the car. And then you hear screaming from the house, and it's shown to us that this cat fucking just tore up everything in the
Tore
guest
up
room.
the wedding dress.
And Jack calls him on it. He says, "Greg, you spray painted this cat, and now look what it did. You lost Jinx out. You've been lying to us from the very beginning. You lied about your MCATs. You're just a liar." And Pam immediately takes Dad's side. I mean, she asks him, "Is this true?" But I guess in this instance, to her defense, he really did paint the fucking cat.
Yeah. And they even call out, "I bet you're the one who started the fire." And he doesn't respond. They know right away, yep, he started that fire.
But he didn't lie about it.
No.
I mean, so he was fessing up. So he's confessing all of his sins. And then, the question about the MCAT comes up, and he goes, "No, I took it, whatever." But it's a little bit too late. And so Jack wants him out. And Greg at this point is defeated.
Yeah, because you look back, they show everybody against Greg, and they show that look they're all giving him, like, get the fuck out.
Yeah. Disapproval.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells Pam, "Okay, well, I'm going to go to the airport. What are you going to do?" And she goes, "Well, I'm going to stay here, fucker."
I'm trying to think, like, if I had a nickel for every time that I've gotten that look, I'd have a lot of nickels.
And so Greg's like, "Okay, fuck it, I'm leaving." And just as he is about to leave, a van pulls up, and the guy gets out and goes, "I got a suitcase for Gaylord Fokker." And this is where everything kind of comes to light for Jack. He's like, "Wait a minute. I thought you said your name was Greg." He goes, "It is. I changed it because I haven't gone by Gaylord since the 3rd grade."
And I love how, I think it was even the plastic surgeon doctor guy who says, "Really? His name is Gay Fokker?"
No, it was Denny.
Oh, it was Denny that said that?
Yeah. Because then Jack kind of figures it out like, oh, well, maybe the information I pulled about Greg Fokker didn't exist because it wasn't Greg Fokker. It was Gaylord Fokker. And so he's kind of looking at Danny going, "Shut the fuck up."
Well, here's another Pam as a dick on, dick list, is that she comes out and then they just all come out and surround her, and she doesn't come out to him in the car. She just kind of stands on there and stares at him as he's kind of pulling away in defeat.
Yeah, she's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
And so he leaves, and he wants to go home.
Yeah, who wouldn't at this point?
I got my mojo working, just won't work on you. I got my mojo working.
Greg's journey hits a low point when he is detained by airport security after refusing to check his oversized suitcase and losing his temper. Back at the Byrnes home, Pam shows her parents Greg's MCAT transcript, which reveals his legal name is Gaylord, not Gregory, explaining why Jack's CIA search found no records. Dina confronts Jack, pointing out his unreasonably high standards and his constant disapproval of Pam's boyfriends. Hearing Pam's heartfelt apology to Greg over the phone, she realizes how much she loves him. He rushes to the airport, reconciles with Greg, and gives him his blessing after Greg admits his fears of not meeting Jack's high expectations. Touched by Greg's devotion to Pam, Jack asks him to be his son-in-law. Back at the Byrnes home, Greg proposes to Pam, and Jack and Dina secretly listen in, agreeing that it's now time to meet Greg's parents. After Debbie's wedding, Jack reviews hidden camera footage of Greg venting about him, inadvertently exposing Denny as a marijuana user and ending the story on a humorous note. Roll credits.
What did you think of Greg at the airport?
Oh, it's absolutely fucking hysterical. My favorite bit in that is after the lady gives him his ticket and he has to go get on the plane and there's no one there and she won't let him on. My favorite bit is after they have their interaction and he goes back and stands in line and she's waiting and then she calls the next row and he comes up. The look she gives him like, oh, hi. Like he hasn't been standing there.
I don't know why, but the interactions he has at the airport made me feel kind of a planes, trains, and automobiles vibe.
Oh, sure.
Especially the way that they kind of talk to him and treat him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can see the correlation there. So they're on the plane, and now naturally his bag won't fit. So they tell him to check it, and then he just fucking loses it.
He's like, I'm not checking my bag.
That's right.
But all this bad shit happened because you made me check my bag.
I like how he says, how are you going to guarantee it? Are you going to go down there with the guys with the earmuffs and physically put my bag into the plane?
She's like, no.
And so, yeah, he gets thrown off the plane.
For saying bomb, 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 and back off, bitch.
And so during this time, Pam calls Greg's parents. And Greg's parents fax over, I guess, the copy of the MCAT scores, and she gives them to Jack. And
not only did he pass, but he had very high scores.
Yeah. And, he's starting to question, well, did I do the right thing? Maybe not. And then this is where, okay, Pam, finally you step up, right? You got the scores from his parents, and then she calls him trying to make amends, and she's really sorry, and she realizes that she fucked up. And
well, this is also where Dina, the mom, calls out Jack on his shit. Yeah. That nobody's ever going to be good enough. And you didn't even like Kevin when Kevin was dating Pam. You treated him like crap until they were broken up, and then you became friends with him.
Yeah. And so Jack has to self-reflect on that, and he overhears Pam, and so he says, fuck. All right, I guess I'll give this dude a fucking chance. And so I love, as he's driving to the airport, or he's downstairs, he goes, he uses the actual alphabet, the military alphabet thing. He actually uses the correct phrases, but as soon as he gets to GAY, the guy on the other end starts laughing. Gaylord Fokker, on American Airlines, blah, blah, blah. And so naturally he stops Greg gets himself kicked off.
Yeah, he gets himself kicked off and taken to the holding area or whatever.
And so if Greg hadn't thrown a fit, he would have left. He would have missed the plane. Jack would have missed him. Mm-hmm. But as it turns out, he didn't, and Jack gets him out of jail. But he says, but before we do anything else, you're going to answer some fucking questions for me. And he gives him the human lie detector test. And this is where Greg tells us, he goes, I love Pam, but I don't know if I want to marry her anymore because you're a fucking nut.
Yeah, you have issues.
Yeah. Jack starts to recognize that and kind of accepts it and realizes that Greg really does love Pam and he wants to marry her, and he gives him his blessing. And then
it's kind of funny the way he does it too. Is it almost feels like he's proposing to Greg when he says, "Will you be my son-in-law?" Yeah. Instead of Greg asking for permission, he proposes to Greg.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
But one of the nice things about this scene and what I appreciated about this scene is it felt like the first time these two characters have actually been honest with each other. Like Greg, because he even sounds different when he's telling him about how crazy he is and how you scare the crap out of me. He's being honest with him for the first time.
Yeah. And so they go back to the house and Greg proposes to Pam.
Well, he wakes her up with flowers and everything.
And he proposes to Pam.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how he uses Jack's Circle of Trust bit, and then how Jack takes credit for it up in bed.
That was my idea.
Yeah, that look he has, he's so proud of himself.
Well, you like how Jinxy delivered the ring?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just as Jack had planned it for Debbie's wedding. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Pam says yes, they're going to get married. And one of my favorite lines in this movie, he goes, well, Jack says, well, there's only one thing to do. Meet his parents. And then I'm thinking sequel, right? It's so good. So good. And then we cut to the wedding, and what's his name? Greg is sitting in between Jack and Dina, and everything's
Did you
happy.
notice they were holding hands?
Yeah.
I thought that was a little odd.
Why? He was being supportive. He was being the new son-in-law.
One of the things I thought was cute, and I don't know if I caught it the first time, but I definitely caught it times after that, was, do you see they still used the burned altar? They just wrapped it in flowers.
Yeah.
And I thought it actually looked good that way.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine. But yeah, I mean, it was the bones were still there.
I
so-
missed what Debbie did for a wedding dress. Did you notice that?
Nope.
Okay, I was wondering if they somehow fixed her dress or if she chose a different dress.
Yeah, no, I didn't even pay
I'll have
attention.
to go back and see if I can look up that.
And so, yeah, it kind of ends on a high note with Greg being accepted, and they're going to start planning a wedding, and we get a fucking sequel.
Yeah. Now, I believe the Meet the Fockers did better than this movie, but got lower ratings. Do you like this one better than Meet the Fockers?
Yes, I think this one is the best one out of the trilogy.
Out of the three, I haven't seen the third one. I could guess which is Little Fockers.
Yeah.
But I thought the second one was funny, but I agree with you. This was the better one. But Dustin Hoffman and Barbara Streisand make the perfect parents for Greg.
Oh my gosh, they are so good. They are what saves this franchise from becoming like a one note kind of franchise.
Mhm.
The problem I had with the second one, and if we ever review it, is the whole Greg's illegitimate son subplot. I didn't like it.
I don't even
but-
remember that, so I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, well, I just watched it on the plane because I knew we were doing this one.
Mhm.
So, and that was Meet the Parents.
So I mentioned earlier, you said this before. Not every movie needs a villain or an anti-hero, but would you say there was one in this movie? Was Jack the anti-hero? Was he kind of the villain of the movie? Was Greg his own villain, or do you call out Pam as the villain of this movie, basically fucking things up for Jack the whole time, or fucking things up for Greg the whole movie?
I don't know if villain is the right word. Antagonist, maybe.
Antagonist, I think, is a better word.
Yeah, Greg could definitely be his own antagonist for sure. And his goal, so he's the protagonist, right? And he has a goal. His goal is to propose to Pam, right? And get Jack's blessing. But there are so many factors that get in the way of that up until the end. You could say that Jack is a antagonist. You could say that Pam inadvertently is an antagonist. But I would say ultimately, I think Greg's his own antagonist. So, think about the decisions he makes. All right, what do you think? You ready to rate this flick?
Sorry, what was that? I was busy over here milking your cat.
I don't have a cat, dude.
Well, fuck. I guess I'm ready then.
We rate our movies on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being a movie that was not so great, a 0 being a movie we don't give a fuck about, and a 5 is solid gold, what we would consider a perfect movie. And seeing as this was my pick, I will go first.
You go first.
I remember when Meet the Parents came out. I saw it in the theater. I remember when it came out on DVD, and the amount of rotation it got in my DVD player was a lot. Where I worked at the time, me and a bunch of my buddies, this movie we would quote nonstop because it just made us laugh. And to this day, it still makes me laugh. Is it perfect? No. There are some things that are fundamentally wrong with it. But overall, the comedic conversations are awesome. They are very well written. The chemistry between De Niro and Stiller is great. I think the cast, outside of Pam and her character and maybe the actress, I think the cast is pretty spot on. It is the best of the trilogy, in my opinion. And so it's for those reasons I'm giving Meet the Parents 4.75 fucks.
Would you like me to go next?
I don't know who else is there.
Well, before I go, Don, do you want to guess my rating?
You're going to give Meet the Parents 3.5 fucks.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, let's go with it.
Okay. Meet the Parents delivers a blend of humor and discomfort. I think one of the key things about this movie, at least in my opinion, is that you're supposed to have this sense of discomfort the whole way through the movie as you watch Greg make one mistake after another and get himself in a lot of trouble. Stiller's performance borders on both enduring and annoying, occasionally testing the audience's sympathy. I mentioned it earlier that I feel like Greg is his own worst enemy, and often he kind of comes off as a dick, the way that he snaps at Pam, and the way that, like I said, he gets himself in his own trouble. For me, it got a little annoying after a while watching him make mistake after mistake, which was supposed to be the funny parts, but you're thinking nobody in their right mind would actually say or do any of these things. De Niro, on the other hand, I thought he shined as the intimidating father. He both brings a comedic edge as well as just a scary sense of, this is not the father that you want to have for your fiance. This is the most intimidating person you could probably run into, and he does a fantastic job of conveying that. The film's comedic scenarios are engaging, yet the resolution feels, in my opinion, overly tidy, which conflicts with the quickly moving past prior tensions. The movie just, in the end, after everything that's happened, after everything that was done, we have one scene in the airport, and that just tidies up everything. Everything is forgiven from the sister and from the family. Everybody's good with all the damage that Greg has done and that has happened over time. I thought it was just tied up into too much of a neat little bow by the end. Overall, the film is enjoyable and rewatchable. It was just missing, in my opinion, one thing from the original, which was having Andy Griffin in a movie on the side story of the original movie as a chainsaw rapist. I thought that would have been perfect for this movie. But overall, other than that, it's a great movie. It's rewatchable. As you've mentioned, Don, it's very quotable. But again, like I said, it's hard to root for our hero when often he comes off as just a fucker. So it's for those reasons I'm giving Meet the Parents 3.5 fucks out of 5.
Bam! 3.5 fucks from the comic book guy and 4.75 fucks from myself. That gives Meet the Parents an average of 4.1 fucks, which now ties it in the 12th spot with Violent Night, Clerks 3, The Sandlot, The Fifth Element, Spider-Man No Way Home, Big Fish, and Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. It is slightly better than Jojo Rabbit, V for Vendetta, Dodgeball, Zombieland, The Thing, and Edge of Tomorrow, and slightly worse than Thor, Love and Thunder, Top Gun Maverick, The Breakfast Club, The Big Lebowski, Scream, and Casino Royale. So there you have it. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Three Guys in a Flick. If you would like to know which movie we're going to be reviewing next, please check out the website. And speaking of which, hey, John, where can they find us?
They can find us at threeguysinaflick.com, where we go ahead and post our show notes. You can find all of our podcasts, and we pretty much post everything else we can think of on there. You can find us at all of social media and any place that hosts podcasts like Spotify, Apple, iTunes, things like that. You can find our podcast. In fact, while you're listening to us right now, go ahead and give us a like, give us a comment, give us 5 stars. We would love to have you add to our score and maybe get us higher on that list, as well as hit that subscribe button so that we can add to our subscriber base.
All right. I just want to thank myself for picking such an awesome movie. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
You're welcome, bud. No, you don't get to say thank you. You didn't like it.
I gave it a 3.5. That's not a bad score.
This movie deserves no less than 4 or 5. And I want to thank anyone else who listens and who has suggested a movie. If you keep listening, we'll keep recording. For Three Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
You tried to milk him, you sick son of a bitch, didn't you?
Jesus, fucker. It's just a game.
It was a big shot.
Three guys with some mics, yeah, got into the flicks. We're here for the real talk, no time for the tricks. Don as the captain, steering us right. Kid drops now is shedding light. John with the comics, bringing the hype. From the good, the bad, to the absurd, we break it down, make sure you heard. Passion for the screen, we ride or die about movies. You know, we always give a fuck, no lie.
I think that it is absolutely brilliantly written. I think it is written absolutely brilliant. It's been a while, man.
It's because you've had to look. You were looking at.
It's been a minute. Yeah. Quit looking at me, dude. Quit looking at me. Halfway around the world, and I've been fine.
You brought it home from the plane.
Shit.
What kind of like Johannesburg, Africa shit did you bring back with you?
Oh, you don't want to know, dude. You don't want to know.
I think that's about it for what I have. It's gonna be the whole pod, isn't it?
Me blowing my nose?
Yeah, basically. I'm gonna thank you for that now.
You are welcome. Act 1, introduction and setup.
You don't have to read that part.
Don't tell me what to do. Act 2, rising tension and conflict.
You know you don't have to read that part.
Don't tell me what to do. Things worsen when he floodens the back.
Floodens?
What?
Floodens?
All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Flea.
Flea guys.
For 3 Guys in a Flick, I'm Don.
I'm John.
And we will see you at the movies. I don't know, I just made that up. All right, what do you got?
I got 2.
I think I have 2 too. Hold on.
So we'll go back and forth. They're pretty obvious though, so you go first.
All right, I'll go first. First one I have is Meet the Fuckers.
I have Eat My Parents.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't even think that one. Mine is Meet the Suckers.
Ooh. I have Meet My Penis.
I feel like you embodied more of the spirit this time than I did.
Yeah.
Meet the Cummers.
Yeah. Eat My Penis.
Eat My Parents.
Eat My
That's
Parents.
funny.
Julie didn't like that one.
I wonder why.
You got a cat for me to milk? Got anything for me to milk? You have nipples.
I
Right?
have nipples, John. Could you milk me?
I could give it a shot.
All right, well, come on, let's do it. All right, may all of your days and nights be filled with happiness. All right, fuck off. Good night.
Catch the vibe as 3 guys in a fight, keep the passion alive. Fuck